Hey guys, Colleen here, DIYer behind LemonThistle.com, and today I am here with my friend Troi, and we are talking all about painting a house, because we painted her whole house. So for this video, we partnered with Wagner Spray Tech, and we used their Control Pro 130 sprayer for this project. And I've worked with their Flexio series before for smaller projects or indoor projects, but this is a really big project. This is the smallest wall in the whole house, and we managed to paint this whole house, the fence, the gutters, the top peaks, all of it in just 3 days. And we wouldn't have been able to do this without the sprayer. So we are not an expert at painting houses. This is the first house that we painted. I thought that I would answer some questions and some of the things we went through in deciding how to paint this house, some tips we found helpful, and I also got a bunch of questions on Instagram about painting a house, so I thought that I would answer those in this video too. Before we get started, if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, I would so love if you did that below so you don't miss out on any more DIY or home decor videos. Alright, so we did this project in just 3 days. I packed up my 4 kids on the Thursday and drove down. We painted for 3 days, and I drove back on the Monday, and the transformation with just paint is incredible. So before we got there, she had cleaned up a lot of the exterior, given it a good wash with a power washer, and so we were able to just get started when I got there. I'll give you a little bit of background on this house. This house is a rental that Troi has owned for years, and now that she's moving into it, she's doing her best to fix it up on the inside, and the outside just seemed like a really big, daunting task. So we tackled it together, and since it was not cared for by the previous renters, there was a lot of damage to the exterior, so there wasn't a lot of things to mask off in this case, which made it really nice and easy to spray. We were painting the gutters and the soffit, and the roof is going to be replaced as well, so we didn't mask anything up at the top. We really only masked off the windows, the doors, and pieces that we couldn't remove. For masking, we used the 3M Scotch Blue tape and plastic. It all comes in one with the tape on the top of the plastic, so you just have to unfold it after you stick it on, and then we used the Scotch Rough Surface extra strength painter's tape because that stuck really well to the weathered wood. Once we were masked, I unpacked the paint sprayer and we got to work. So this paint sprayer is bigger and more heavy duty and all around completely different than the other Wagner paint sprayers that I have used. All the paint sprayers I've used up until this point are from the Flexio series. The Flexio series is a DIY level paint sprayer. They're really wonderful. I've loved using it for all my projects. The big difference is here is that the Flexio series are high volume, low pressure paint sprayers, and the Control Pro 130 is a high efficiency airless paint sprayer. So there are some big differences. I just wanted to get that out there, how different this paint sprayer is. The other thing that's really different about it is that you can dump an entire can of paint into the paint sprayer and you can just get rockin'. So for a really big project, it helped it go so much faster. I was blown away at how much quicker it went than what I was expecting, even having used a paint sprayer and loved the results in the past. Okay, so once I had the paint sprayer set up, I went and poured my full can in. One thing that you do want to note about any paint sprayers, please, for goodness sakes, read the instructions. This one involves priming and getting it set up. So if I was just doing a really small project, I would probably still use the Flexio because of the quicker setup. So even if it does take a tiny bit longer to spray the project itself, it evens out. Whereas if I'm doing a big project like this is definitely the fastest sprayer to use. So we set up our scaffolding in just single level, really low, which gives me enough height to get up to the top, and then we move it out of the way so that I can get the bottom half. This first little section here, I didn't get the most even coverage as I was getting used to using the sprayer, but the coverage was phenomenal. It went on so beautifully. As with spraying any kind of stucco, I have another video on spraying stucco, but you want to make sure that you get all of your angles in so that you don't have any shadows of the original color of paint, depending on which angle you look at, because the stucco is raised. So some of the questions that I got from this is it messy? And honestly, I feel like this project does not give a great representation of that, but there is minimal overspray. Wind is something to be concerned about, and of course you can spend time masking. So like I said in the first part of this video, we didn't do as much masking as I would do if I was painting a house that we didn't know we were also going to paint the soffits and the gutters, and if the yard was landscaped and all these things. We knew that we just needed to get the house painted, and the rest of those things were coming after. We also knew that we'd be painting the fence, so we didn't mask that either. That said, I have never had an issue with overspray on my projects because I do always follow the guidelines laid out in the instruction manual of my paint sprayer. And I have used my paint sprayer indoors, outdoors, all of it. Around the front of the house, we were up on 2 levels of scaffolding, and that still wasn't high enough to reach the very top of this house. So we borrowed a bucket truck. We used a wire brush to scrape off the wood shingles just to clean them up before spraying. We sprayed with a lighter gray for this one, so you can see that. Now, we had a hard time picking colors. We had this gray paint that we knew we were going to use, the dark gray for the main part of the house, but we had to pick the colors to go along with it. So I wanted to show you this cool tool that most paint stores or paint companies have, where you can pick a scene generator and you can put the color of paint that you have in there or something very close to it, and then you can play around with the additional colors. So we did this when deciding specifically on the fence, and I'll show you that we painted the fence a mint color. It is so fun, and it's totally Troi, and she was unsure what it would look like, but as soon as we saw it in the mock-up, she knew she was happy with it. So if you are unsure of paint colors, go ahead and use an online generator just to mock up what your space will look like. Another question that I did get is, how do you know how much paint you need? So what I would suggest here is to measure the area that you are wanting to paint, and then you can just search paint calculator and you can enter in the square footage and it will calculate how many gallons of paint you will need to paint that area. This is for rolling, not for spraying, and I would just keep in mind that spraying requires more paint than rolling, but what we choose to do is to go and buy how much it says for rolling and use that, and then if we need more, make another trip back to the store just so we don't have waste. I would also mention that stucco does take a little bit more paint than smoother surfaces like drywall because there are different angles, and so this paint calculator that I'm using here that I just searched for does ask you how rough the surface is and takes that into account when it is calculating, but there are tons of different ones. Okay, so I did want to paint out that with this project we painted wood, we painted metal, we painted stucco, and we also painted some concrete. So as much as there are different types of paints that you can specifically get for all of these surfaces, a really great outdoor quality paint, if you talk to the paint supplier at your local hardware store or whichever, they will point you to one that is going to be really durable and that will work on all these different surfaces. As long as you take care to get a paint that is high quality and formulated for these outdoor surfaces, and you prep your surface and making sure that you are painting within the temperatures that the can of paint says it works in, you will have great luck. The more painting projects that I do, the less intimidating it is for me, and that was one of the fun things about coming down and doing this project with Troi, is this project did seem super intimidating to her, and once we were at it, she's like, this isn't as bad as I thought it would be, and it really isn't. It's a lot of fun to work with a paint sprayer. It goes so quick, so it's super rewarding, and if you look at the cost benefit compared to hiring somebody, these paint sprayers are so affordable if you factor in what you might pay somebody to do it. So even if you are just painting the exterior of your house, I feel like it is totally worth buying a paint sprayer, and I can't recommend the Wagner Control Pro 130 enough for a project of this size. I think that you make back your money in saving your time. All right, so that is answering all of the questions that we got over on Instagram as we were going through this house painting adventure. And now, most of all, I just want to talk about this glow up. I mean, how incredible is it what paint can do? This is the before, this is the after. This is the before, this is the after, and it's just paint, you guys. We did nothing else on this house. We just painted. Over on the front, I did want to point out that you can see the awning came off over the door. We took that down. The door is being replaced and a new awning is going to be put in. We were really hoping that that would be done before we share the reveal, but it just wasn't finished in time. I can't wait to see what that looks like when the new one is installed, painted that gorgeous teal color. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more DIY or home decor videos. We'll see you next time.